Hello friends, today I'll show you how I draw faces and how I approach the head structure of a character in my cartoonish style. I'm gonna slowly break it down for you to understand each step, so let's jump right into it. I'll show you the basic front view first. I start by drawing a circle. After this, I create an oval shape, and remember we are at the sketching phase, so your lines don't have to be extremely perfect. As you can see, I make little strokes to create the shape. We'll polish it up later. This upper line is a guide for you to know where the hairline starts. And then I mark the center of the head. This line is the most important one, especially from the front, because it helps you keep the facial features symmetrical. And now I'm going to add 2 more lines across the face for the eyes. I'm not going to make them perfectly straight though, just slightly rounded towards the bottom. And right under the upper guideline, I'm going to place the ears. Careful with the placement of the ears because they will play a big role in the head position and perspective. If your character is looking straight to the front, it's best for the upper part of the ears to be aligned to the upper part of the eyes. This is a very classical approach to the facial anatomy, but I keep everything pretty round as my art style is characterized by very soft lines and edges. But let's say you want to draw more in anime style, for example, I think I'd go with a sharper jaw and make lines overall more intense, so you could definitely adapt this base to your taste. Most people who start drawing or have never drawn before unconsciously suffer of what I call tunnel vision, meaning they only focus on a single element at a time, and then when you look back, things aren't very symmetrical. So my advice to place the face elements is to look at the overall picture. I know it's easier said than done, but your brain will train over time. Try to keep this in mind, especially when you're drawing a face from the front. So now that I'm drawing the rough shapes of the eyes, I try to look at the entire picture as much as I can. While of course keeping in mind that we are not trying to achieve perfect symmetry. For my personal taste, I actually like that natural hand-drawn feel, plus nobody's perfectly symmetric in real life anyway, so don't stress too much about that. The same concept goes even more for brows. I like to have fun with them and keep them fluffy. Try to follow the natural curve of the eye socket by roughly aligning the start of the brow to the inner corner of the eye. This, in my opinion, is the element that really gives life and personality to the character. I like to exaggerate them sometimes, and you can really play around with the shape. To draw the nose, we are going to make good use of the middle line we drew in our base. I like to start with an oval, and this will be the tip. Remember that by changing the width of the oval, you can determine the shape of the nose. And then I place the nostrils, followed by another line to separate the bottom part. This is more of a stylistic choice. In fact, I keep these lines on my artworks, but feel free to only use them as a guide and erase them after the line art. I just think it gives that sketchy feel I really like in a drawing. Let's move on to the mouth now. I like to start with the corners. Let's give a soft smile to our character. I draw 2 little dots that I then extend to the middle part, and let's also add some little smile lines. My approach to the lips is very simple. I normally color in the upper lip only, and then I place another line to highlight the bottom lip, to which I usually just give a soft shade. Now that we have our facial structure ready, we can start drawing in all our stylistic elements and details. It's time to give it character. So let's define the jaw, the corners of the mouth, and of course the lashes and eyelids. And as you can see, I realized that the ears were a little bit too high up, so I moved them. Don't be afraid to identify your mistakes and correct them. This is how we learn. And now we can add our details. I will also add some hair while we are here. I often get questions on how to draw hair, and my advice is don't overthink it. Hair flows all in different directions. The less precise you are, the more natural they look. As you can see, I leave a little bit of space between the hair and the head, and that's very important because it gives volume and makes it look soft and dynamic. Avoid drawing hair glued to the head unless you're going for a specific hairstyle that requires it. Otherwise it will look very flat. Alright, we're done! This is how I sketch faces from the front in my cartoon-ish style. I will also show you now how I approach a 3/4 view of the head. The process is the same but with a few tweaks. Let's see it. Always starting with a circle, but before making the oval, I will draw the middle guidelines first, because I need to decide the perspective. This will then help you place the oval. But this time, since our character is looking to the side, it will be a bit squished, kinda like a little bin. I will also draw another circle on the side of the head, and as you can see, this is very useful to visualize the head three-dimensionally. And that's where we'll draw the ears, aligning them to the eyes guidelines. For some people, it's easier to draw eyes from this angle actually, others struggle with the hidden eye particularly, and if that's your case, I would suggest you try to draw the nose first and then follow the natural curve of the bridge to draw the other eye. But here I'm gonna use the middle line as a guide. You need to remember that the eyes are not a flat surface, the eyeball is literally a ball. So don't forget to keep your lines round and soft, especially if you have a style that's similar to mine. For a variation, let's make our character a little worried. We'll draw the start of the brow a bit further ahead of the inner corner of the eye, while the other will follow the bridge of the nose, just like our lash line. And now you'll see how everything will come together with the nose. As always, we draw our oval, and that plus the middle line will cut you to create the shape. Imagine the middle line to be a barrier. The nose-shaped line should stop right next to it, and the nostrils follow the curve of the oval. Don't be too strict with this though, remember noses come in many shapes and forms. These are just rough guidelines to make everything cohesive. For the mouth again, we start with a little dot and extend it to the side this time. I will only draw one because the other is kinda hidden by the lower lip, which will make a lot more prominent from this perspective. And by increasing the size of the brush, I define the upper lip, tweaking the shape to my liking and always keeping in mind the middle line. The mouth should sit almost at the center. And now it's time to add our final details, hair, and polish things up, just like we did for the previous sketch. I kept these designs very simple for the sake of the tutorial, but you of course make your character as fun and complex as you desire. And that's it! This is how I draw faces every day in my artworks. Please keep in mind that this is just how I like to do things, and these techniques change from artist to artist. So never think that these are absolute rules you need to follow, because no, art is how you manifest your own imagination, so don't forget that. That being said, I really hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you next Sunday. Take care. Bye!